I feel like, there's so many religions, but just in Christianity itself, there's so many people that put ideas into the religion and tell people they need to follow it, which is what's ruined Christianity, essentially. Like, for a lot of people, is like man's ideas and man's laws put into Christianity because that's where most of the big arguments come from for why you shouldn't be Christian, because the Christians say this, but people should see, what did Jesus say, not what do his believers say, but what does the source say?
Honestly, I think it's kind of funny how people say, like, I don't follow Christianity because Christians say this. And I'm like, I completely agree. Christians say that all the time, but that's not what God says at all. Like,
you are who you are, and you will never fail to be who you are. Always on time, always.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 51. Next episode is going to be our 1-year anniversary, so pretty happy about that. We made it a year.
maybe we'll start a new season.
Oh, we actually should. We've
starting
been on season 1 for a while.
Yeah.
What are we going to change, though, in season 2? What qualifies it to be a new season?
A new character.
One of us should die.
Yeah, exactly.
We've already had plenty of deaths. In spiritual sense, I'm just kidding. They're all still alive.
Today we have an interesting topic. Before we start, does anyone have anything they want to talk about that happened during the week or something like that?
Me and Nathan went camping with Matthew and Robbie.
How did you do it?
It was very fun.
Nice.
Jonah and I saw Top Gun last night.
Very good movie.
Yes.
Yeah, Top Gun's one of my new favorite movies for sure.
It's that good.
It's actually really,
Sure,
really
It's-
good.
yeah.
Did you guys see the original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd give it like a 9 out of 10.
Me too. It
What
exceeded my
percentage?
expectations.
Tomato freshness would you give it?
Only critics can do that.
Well,
I would have to give
You're-
it the popcorn review because,
Yeah.
oh, you're right, huh?
because I'm an audience member.
So I'd give it like a 93.
But legally, you're
Legally.
recording this review on a podcast, so you're kind of like a real critic.
Oh my gosh. 89%.
You just have to say, like, give like a 1-sentence breakdown of like how it made you feel.
Well, it's all practical effect. I'm not gonna do it in one sentence. It's all practical effects because it's like real F-18s that they just put the actors in, and so it's really exhilarating as compared to like a lot of other movies where it's just CGI and it's like, wow, this is so interesting.
It made it seem like it was a real event.
Okay, it was
Well,
really
'cause it was,
predictable because I
kind of.
almost predicted the whole movie to Aiden.
Yeah, every time something was about to happen, he's like, this is gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
And that happened. But still, it had me on the edge of my seat almost the whole time.
All right. See, if I read that review on Rotten Tomatoes, I'd be like, maybe I'll go watch it.
Nice. There's not, like, it's really friendly, too. Was there ever cursing in it?
Yeah.
There was one.
Which I'm really surprised. I was like, they threw the one curse word in at like the wrong time.
No, I thought it was appropriate at the time.
I thought it should have been like when he was, like, I'm not gonna say it, but like not then.
Okay.
All right, well, I was downstairs teaching Bible school this morning, and I found this cool verse that kind of summarizes the whole Bible in like 3 sentences, or 3 verses, I guess. Therefore, as one trespass led to condemnation for all men, so one act of righteousness leads to justification and life for all men. For as by one man's disobedience the many were made sinners, so by one man's obedience the many will be made righteous. Now the law came to increase the trespass, but where sin increased, grace abounded all the more, so that all sin reigned in death. Grace also might reign through righteousness, leading to eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. So, I feel like that just summarizes the whole Bible.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Is it Ephesians?
No, it's Romans 5,
Romans 5.
18. Which leads well into the topic we have today, which is, why do bad things happen to good people? And I feel like you can also flip the question to, like, why do good things happen to bad people, in a sense?
Yep.
And then why do bad things happen in general, I guess, too. Leads into that. So
Every time I went to text you guys this, I kept writing, why do bad things happen to good people? Or no. That's the right way to say it. I kept flipping around. I kept writing, why do good things happen to bad people?
But no, to start this out, like, I don't think any of us know how God runs this world, right? And so, like, the one thing we do know, though, is that when we see the whole picture, we're going to understand, I'm like, okay, I understand why this had to happen in this way, because that's the only way this could have really happened. And that's the only way it could have gone for us to be saved, essentially. So that's the basic, like, overlying. Like, we don't fully understand God.
And it's over.
You can't really ask why do good things or bad things happen to good people, because it's not, like, really a right question. I guess the only right way to, like, phrase it would be, like, why do better things happen to worse people? Because there is no good people.
That's exactly where I was going to go with this topic.
Also, I think the first thing we need to address is, like, firstly, why does this question bother us so much? Like, to an atheist, why does this question bother an atheist so much?
Yeah. That's huge, actually. I thought of it totally different, but that is huge. Like, why does it matter?
Yeah.
And I think coming from, you have to, like, kind of do a double flip. Like, coming from an atheist perspective, looking at a Christian, and you're like, okay, you believe in a God. So if this God of yours exists, then it does make sense to ask that question. Like, why do bad things happen to good people? Because in your mind, you're thinking, like, that's unfair. And if I were to believe in a God, he should be a fair God.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, atheists feel that it's bad, too. Like, they can feel other people's pain, and they feel pain themselves. And, like, I think God created us in his image to live, you know, like in the Garden of Eden, essentially, to feel that perfection and everything is perfect. And we live in a world that's unperfect and unjust. And so that feels wrong in our hearts, because we know we were really created to live in unison and perfection with God. So when that's not the case, you just feel that, like, tension and, like, that.
Yeah, you feel it, like, at the soul
wrong.
level.
Something's wrong,
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing you should ask someone asking you this question is, like, why does it matter to you? Because then you can go into, like, okay, yes, if God exists, this question matters. But if he doesn't exist, then why does it matter if there's pain and suffering? Like, it's just a result of your actions.
Yeah, it's almost like a paradox.
Yeah.
Like,
Luke, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I would just put some emotional music over that and submit it on a TikTok as a clip. As a short. Perfect.
I was just saying, like, it's a paradox because, like, if God doesn't exist, you don't have to answer the question. So then it's like, as an atheist, I don't have to answer this question because I don't believe God exists.
Yeah.
But as a Christian, then it's put on me to answer this question because I believe God exists. So I have to explain how this works.
So how do we explain it?
I mean, yeah, because I've been asked that before.
It's probably one of the top 5 questions Christians get asked, I feel like, at least.
Yeah, it's
maybe the top one, even.
If God is good, why do bad things happen to good people?
No, it's usually phrased like if your God is so just, then, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
How
like,
could
if
how
your
could
God
he
is
let this
if
happen?
he's all loving and stuff.
Yeah. I will. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we do have some dominion over the world, you know? And so when bad things happen, it's not like it's God's fault, you know? I think Frank Turek said it pretty well, you know? God doesn't let bad things happen, people do. And I thought that was...
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday when I was washing the dishes, I was thinking about this question. And I was like,
why am I washing the dishes right now? This is bad.
no, I was thinking, like, all right, how can I flip this question around and look at it from a different angle? Because I've thought about this question so many times, and I'll explain kind of my views on it a little bit more. But I started thinking about, like, all right, what if only good things ever happened? Like, what if we lived in a world
And
where
there would
only
be
good things happened?
people, and then there wouldn't be free will.
Right? Because that's exactly, like, the more I broke it down, I was like, you wouldn't even know that it was good. And there would, like
from a robot's perspective, yeah.
Because, like, in my, and this will kind of circle back, but, like, good is a relative word, right? Like, I think that my smoothie that I had this morning tastes good, but somebody else could taste my smoothie and be like, that tastes bad. So it's like, is that a good smoothie or a bad smoothie?
Yeah.
Like, how do you measure that? And so I was thinking, okay, what if only good things happened? Well, according to who? Because it's like, what if you both had eyes for the same girl? What would be a good outcome?
She dies and we're both broken.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you...
Yeah, it's like it's almost like the same thing as like there can't be light without darkness. Like without darkness, there is no light. There has to be.
There can't be cold without heat. Yeah, it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's relative.
Yeah.
I always ask this question when people pose like, well, why do good things happen to bad or gosh, why do bad things happen to good people? I always say like, well, who's a good person?
Yeah, like
Yeah, that's a good point.
there really is no good people because we're all sinners. Oh my
Matthew.
God!
What's up? Bro, you want to get in here?
You missed out on a really good movie last night.
It was really good.
No, okay, so we were, I guess, on the topic of what makes a good person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one
So-
term that gets thrown around a lot is like a moral person.
Well, Jesus, right? Well, that's our example of a
Yeah,
perfect person.
and our example as Christians is Jesus, but not everyone has the same moral framework. This is something that I learned about in philosophy, and Matthew took philosophy as well. Oh, Wolfgang Lewis took philosophy, not Matthew. And so something that we learn about is like moral frameworks, and like it's basically different ideas that people believe this is how people should act.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many different ideas, and so I think it really, as for a Christian, it comes down to like being like Jesus, which is something that Kyle's talked about before.
That's a great point because, like, I feel like, yeah, there's so many religions, but just in Christianity itself, there's so many people that put ideas into the religion and tell people they need to follow it, which is what's ruined Christianity, essentially. Like, for a lot of people, is like, man's ideas and man's laws put into Christianity because that's where most of the big arguments come from for why you shouldn't be Christian, because the Christians say this, but people should see, what did Jesus say, not what do his believers say, but what does the source say, right? And I think we fall into that trap a lot of times too. We like, what do man say about God, when what does God say about God is what we need to be looking at.
It's honestly, I think it's kind of funny how people say, like, I don't follow Christianity because Christians say this. And I'm like, I completely agree. Christians say that all the time, but that's not what God says at all. Like, yeah, I think that's interesting.
That's cool.
I agree. Like, I think that is honestly like one of the probably why people are so turned off to Christianity most of the time. Exactly what you just said.
But so, Adam was kind of said to be the first, or no, Jesus was the last Adam. So they kind of correlate in that way. And so I just want to go back to the beginning, kind of at where did sin actually enter? And like, because that's really the root of all bad things, right, is sin. Because in the beginning, there was unison and perfection in the garden, and there was no sadness, no pain, no bad things were happening, and people weren't asking this question.
Because there were only two of them.
Exactly. Well, you only need two to start asking those questions.
Adam stubs his toe and he's like, "Why do bad things happen?"
Why? No, so we all know. I'm not going to retell the story of Adam taking the fruit, but they took the fruit not because they didn't believe God existed. They knew God existed. They took the fruit because they didn't believe God had their best interest in mind. They wanted to have that understanding, and that they took that choice. And so that's where all evil, in my opinion, comes from, is we don't believe that God has the best intentions for us, so we choose other things. And every time you choose something that's not God and not God's will, bad things happen, right? So that's kind of like how I narrow it down, I feel like.
That's honestly the root of this question, though, too.
Yeah.
Like, why do bad things happen to good people? It's almost like, why doesn't God have my best interest in mind?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's just because we don't understand
Yeah.
what our best interest is.
Yeah, and we go against what our best interest is, or what God's interest is for us, and try to do our own best interest, which leads to bad stuff.
Yeah, all the time.
Jenna, do you have any thoughts on this? I don't think you've said much yet.
Without bad things, like, could you, like, as a person even be good? Because, like, what makes a person a good person?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
like, right?
So, like, bad things pretty much have to happen to you for you to be a good person. Like, you have to endure, like, suffering.
You're saying you can't be a good person if there's no such thing as bad.
Good people wouldn't exist if there was no bad things in the world.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Every person would just be a person.
Yeah. I was thinking about this on the flip side of that too. Like, what if only bad things happened to bad people? So it's like, let's say you could draw an imaginary line in the sand and say, like, this is the cutoff for good or bad, right? Mm-hmm. Which we have because it's Jesus. So that cutoff is like Jesus and then like the rest of humanity. So it's pretty easy for us to figure out. But I'm just saying, like, if there's another way to look at it, like in this moral continuum of like good versus bad people, first of all, where do you draw that line? But even if you could, and only bad things happen to bad people, eventually, like, because people do bad things, you'd run out of bad people to do bad things to, right? Does that make sense? Like, eventually it just wouldn't balance out.
Well, eventually everyone would be on the side that everyone's bad.
Yeah, right?
There'd be no one
it
on
would
the
just
good
start
side.
flipping. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
there's no good and bad people. There's people that do more bad things, I feel like, but we're all bad.
I think people are also recognized for their bad things more than their good things.
It depends on people, yeah. But like, so Mother Teresa, no one ever talks about her faults, really, right? But someone like Hitler, no one never talks about anything he did good, because really he didn't do anything good. But I'm sure he had characteristics
he
of
was
leadership.
a great painter,
and like stuff like that. Yeah,
Hey,
he was very artistic. No one talks about that.
Hear
No one
me
cares about
out.
that.
Hear me out. Hitler was a good painter.
Had he been
And
accepted to art school?
he literally united like the whole country for a short time.
Yeah, I'm gonna get so much flack for this, but like he was a leader,
Yeah.
but so nobody's ever like, you're never taking like a leadership course, and they're like, let's look at
Be
Hitler's
like-
leadership style. But like, and yeah, Hitler's a horrible person, but he obviously captivated an entire country.
He knew,
Or brainwashed,
He knew,
depends on how you look at it.
he knew how to lead, though.
Isn't that
Yeah, it's
what leadership is?
He saw.
That's what I feel like. That's what our politics are for. This is a side tangent, but like, I hate politics with such an extreme hatred, because the more I think about it, I'm like, just watch a politician give a speech. It's like, I'm awesome. You should think I'm awesome, and here's the awesome things that I'm gonna do
And
because
everyone
I'm
else
awesome.
and here's why
sucks.
this other guy
And
sucks.
here's
Yeah.
why everyone else sucks.
I'm like, how do we vote these people in? They're just narcissists. Like, every single one. Like, that's the job of a politician, is just to be more.
It pretty much goes back to
self-consumed
I'm
than the
morally
rest.
right and these people aren't morally right. So it all
Exactly.
goes back to morals. Even like I was in jury duty and I'm sitting there and all these people are talking about morality. I'm like, why does it matter to you guys if you don't believe in God? Like, there is no morality. How do you guys know this is right and wrong? And that's what everyone keeps debating, is this right or wrong? And no one knows what to base it off of, except for our law, which keeps changing. And so it's just like, it's a crap show.
And what if you disagree with the law? Like,
Yeah.
there's, and that's what politics is all about, right? Like, I disagree with, Roe versus Wade. Okay. So then what is, like, who chooses what is right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we as Christians have the Bible.
Yeah. And that's why bad thing happened. Good people.
Yeah.
No, okay, so this was kind of, I'm glad we, kind of said we were going to talk about this next week. Like Kyle was saying, this would be a good idea, because things did come to me randomly that answered this question. Like, I'd be on YouTube, cleaning my room, and videos would start auto playing, and it would talk about this question. And so one of the videos that I found, this is, and actually he was a Calvinist and now a Christian, and now he's a pretty hardcore atheist, and he talks about why this, I guess what we're doing right now is apologetics, why this theory that we're talking about fails. And so I just want to look at an atheist perspective. And I appreciate this atheist. He's called the Non-Alchemist, and he really tries, he tries his best. He's not one of those atheists that's just...
He's doing his best not to believe in God.
Yeah, like he's not taking, like he doesn't do a lot of big mistakes other atheists. He talks about this, like he doesn't, because a lot of atheists are super easy to disprove, because 50% of the things they talk about in their case is wrong, and so no one even cares about what they're trying to point out. But so this guy really tries, and I appreciate that, and we're gonna play this video.
When confronted with the various versions of the problem of evil, there's one popular strategy that's often used to try and explain it. Take a listen.
Is God good? If he is, Why is there suffering and evil? Let's assume for the moment that God is all-powerful. This means that God can do anything that is logically possible. So he can create galaxies and subatomic particles and rainforests and you. But God cannot do what is logically impossible. He cannot make a square circle or a one-ended stick. So can God make a rock so big that he can't lift it? No. So what if, when God created human beings, he wanted them to be free? Freedom's a good thing.
All right, let's stop it there. Why is freedom such a good thing? Well, it might seem intuitively obvious to most of us that freedom in a general sense is a good thing. But I can tell you that this video has certain conceptions of freedom baked into it.
Here we go.
Is God good?
That particular video was put together by a friend of mine, Jim Zangmeister, who went to our seminary in Charlotte, Southern Evangelical Seminary.
In other words, based on the endorsements, the kind of freedom it's talking about is presumably libertarian freedom, a type of freedom that is incompatible with determinism, as well as moral freedom, the freedom to choose between good and evil. Keep this in mind as we move forward.
But if humans are to be free, they cannot be forced to obey God. Because freedom without choice is like a square circle. It's a logical contradiction. No choice, no freedom. God didn't want robots. He wanted real people. The first humans endowed with the awesome power of free choice abused their freedom. The tragic consequences of their bad choice and our bad choices ripple across the world.
Very heartwarming. Very logically and morally consistent of God to set up a system wherein the failures of the first pair infect the moral dispositions of their offspring. I'm tempted to ramble on about this, but that's not what this video is about. Philosopher Wes Morriston summarizes why the idea that moral freedom is some great good is a big problem for many Christians. Many Christian philosophers believe that it is a great good that human beings are free to choose between good and evil. So good, indeed, that God is justified in putting up with a great many evil choices for the sake of it. But many of the same Christian philosophers also believe that God is essentially good, good in every possible world. Unlike his sinful human creatures, God cannot choose between good and evil. In that sense, he is not morally free. It is not easy to see how to fit these two theses into a single coherent package. If moral freedom is such a great good in human beings, why is it not a grave defect in God that he lacks it? And if the lack of moral freedom does not detract in any way from God's greatness, would it not have been better for us not to have it? Put another way, or to borrow the title of the paper that this quote is coming from, what's so good about moral freedom?
The main point of that video, as you saw, is that evil exists because we have free will, which is the only way that love could exist. So God gives us free will so we could love, but it also opens up the possibility for evil. And we do evil, we sin.
A common response is that free will is required for moral responsibility or even love. But is moral freedom required for this? Even if we assume libertarian freedom in a general sense is, it doesn't follow that the genuine possibility of choosing evil is required for moral responsibility and love to exist. After all, God can be morally praised for his actions and can love, right? Which begs the question, why didn't God do a better job of creating us in his own image? Presumably, we could have a freedom analogous to the kind that God has, all without the presence or possibility of evil. Why not? But no. On most versions of theism, God gives us a subpar version of libertarian freedom, with the threat of an eternal hell baked in if we don't use it properly. Speaking of an eternal hell, Christians, if you will, allow me, a mere atheist, to tell you the truth about hell.
So that's that video. First point I want to kind of touch on is like, well, if God, funny of him to, doom humanity from the first two people he created. And I like to ask people, like, if you were in the Garden of Eden, like of Eden, would you have taken the apple? And I feel like, we take that apple almost every day. We choose stuff other than God. So in a sense, yes, we all would have taken the apple. So we were kind of doomed from the beginning, in a sense. And all of us would have made that choice. And that's why, there's free will. But to boil down his main question or his main statement is like, does God have free will? I feel like is the main question.
I think that's
what he's getting at. Like
his whole he's talking about the argument has preconceptions. His preconception in that argument is that God doesn't have a choice.
God can only choose good.
Yeah.
Is that
but
true?
I don't think so. Like, God is perfect, so he has the choice, and he just chooses good always. So it's not the lack of a choice. It's like,
was it
like
good
you said.
Was it good of him to let Job suffer like that?
I mean,
we can't understand God.
If you look at Job's story, at the end, Job was blessed way more.
Which is funny because he got a whole new family, a whole new wife. I wouldn't.
No, I think it was the same wife, just new kids. He got everything removed except his wife. His wife was still there at the end because she was like,
yeah, but all his like kids
Job.
got crushed in like the houses and stuff, and then he just got new kids. And
I know,
just
but bro, they
happier.
went to heaven. They were better off.
He was happier with the new kids. He was like, yeah, those kids were disobedient anyway. I'm glad they got crushed on.
No, but like, if I could see from that perspective, like being a parent, you love your kids so much, and it would be heartbreaking if I like lost my kids. But then if I was blessed with more kids, I would never get my kids back, like my originals. But I'd also be like, all right, they're in heaven. Like, I can still enjoy the blessing of these new kids.
Season 2 of the kids.
Yeah. So I think that, I mean, this is where it's hard for me. You always get in your head with philosophy, and you don't look at reality. You just look at ideas.
Yeah.
And all right, let's break down whether or not God can make a choice. It's like, at the end of the day, God did make a choice in creating humans, and it says that we were created in his image.
He wasn't forced to create us, therefore he has free will.
Yeah. So
he wasn't forced to love us. He could have, killed us all.
Yeah. Would it have been good of God not to create humans at all? Like, yeah, you're welcome that you can have a podcast and spout your atheist ideas over YouTube.
Yeah.
And I mean, here's the thing. Like, I like to think that God does have the choice, like that he does have free will, because
it's just like Jesus had the choice here on earth in the flesh
that's
and body.
That's what I'm going to say. Like, because if Jesus is fully God, then he is a representation of God, right? And so I think that he does have the choice, but since he's also fully man, he demonstrated that man does not have to sin, in a sense.
Yeah.
Well, he had free will too.
Because that guy was basically assuming that, like, humans have to make bad choices.
Yeah.
And therefore we couldn't be made in God's image.
But humans don't have to make bad choices.
In a way, we can't make. Well, I guess
you have a choice every time you do something.
Yeah, we just suck at it.
Yeah,
really bad. No, but so for the whole free will aspect, William Lane Craig I think has a good 1 minute answer on this. So if you guys want, I'll play that real quick.
This question have to do with free will and God. If God only acts according to, in accordance with his nature, can he be said to have free will?
Well, I think that he has free will. And I would say that to be free is to be free of causal determinants outside of oneself. Your choice is up to you. It is not determined by causal factors outside yourself. And clearly, in the case of God, he's free in that sense because there are no causal factors outside of God insofar as he exists alone without the universe. There isn't even anything outside of him until he creates the world. So God is obviously free to create the world or not because there aren't any determining causal factors outside of him. And even afterwards, there's nothing that can cause God to choose the way he does because he's omnipotent, he's the creator, he's over everything. So I think that God is the epitome of libertarian freedom.
Just my closing statements on this subject are, Jesus said it best when I don't remember who ran up to him. Yeah, it was the rich young ruler. And he said, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And he said, "Who is good? There is none good but one, and that is God." Mm-hmm. Or he says, "Why do you call me good?" And that really puts this topic into perspective, because I've had this conversation with non-believers before, and it comes down to, like, where do you measure goodness? Like, how do you measure that? And everybody has this imaginary measurement of goodness, but they can't define it. It can't be defined like what is good, what is evil. But we do. We have a defining line for that, and it's Jesus. Jesus is good. If you're not being exactly like Jesus, that's not good. And so that's where people are like, well, how do you say, like, how could you ever send a good person to hell? Well, they're not a good person.
Yeah.
Based off of Jesus being the bar, Jesus is the level that we strive to, like, reach. Nobody reaches it. And that's why everybody's deserving of hell. And that's why at the end of the day, our only logical choice is Jesus. Choose Jesus so that he can wash you of everything.
Yeah, I mean,
and bring you into that.
And that's like the only work of God, right? I mean, in John 6, Jesus says, like, the work of God is this: follow the Son of God, or like accept the Son of God. And like, that's it. That's all he says.
Believe him. Yeah.
Yeah.
My closing statements on the topic: why do good things happen to good people? Why doesn't God punish?
What? Why do good things happen?
Why do bad
things happen to good people?
Why do bad things happen to good people? Why doesn't God punish bad people? Truth is, there's no good people. We're all bad. We're all horrible. You're horrible. I'm horrible. You're horrible.
Well,
if you want God to punish bad people,
just wait a few years,
because
I think
you might be the one to be punished.
Yeah, I mean, well, if we're gonna close this, topic, I do want to bring up, like, when people say, like, well, you can't just brush it off. Like, if Jonah, like, got cancer tomorrow and died, like,
yeah, that's
how
like
would you?
Stage 18 cancer, bro.
Yeah. You leveled up quickly.
No, finish your thought on that.
So, I mean, if I got cancer, like, again and, like, died, like, how would y'all justify that, or how would God justify that, would you say?
I mean, you gotta look, what's the result of you dying? You go into heaven, right? So really, it's not that bad of a thing.
So that's a good thing happening to a bad person.
Just flipped it right there.
Luke's down here, and he's, like, popping confetti on the grave. Like, woo!
No, I think we should mourn when people die and leave us. Because, Jesus did that too, because the other people were sad.
Oh, we're, like, mourning for ourselves.
No, I think we're mourning for the
mourning for
people that
them.
don't understand what we understand. Because we feel their sadness, and we're sad because those people really think he's gone forever, and they're never going to see him again because they don't believe in Jesus. That's the sad thing.
No, we're mourning for ourselves because we miss them on the earth, and we're not.
Well, you're mourning for yourself then, and
I
Luke is mourning.
I don't really think that you could tell me, like, if
I can't
someone
speak
really
from experience.
close to
no one
you
close to me has
died,
died, so I can't speak.
you
from
would
experience.
be like, "Woo, he's in heaven." I don't think I don't think you could do that.
I will say, okay, so recently Andrew's grandfather died.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty close to him. And I remember, like, I always tell people, like, I have a black heart. And I remember the morning we were going down to his funeral, I told Andrew, I was like, I'm not going to cry, and I'm going to feel like a jerk because I have a black heart, and I just don't cry. And so I was like, the whole time I was like, man, this is going to be so awkward. Like, just because, like, and I love the guy, but I just, I'm like, I kept telling everybody, I was like, he's in heaven. Like,
I'm just a horrible person. I'm not gonna cry.
That's not no. So I kept telling everybody, I was like, I'm so happy because I saw him on his deathbed, and I was like, this is horrible. Like, that is painful. Like, that sucks. And I was like, he's probably stoked that he's not living on his deathbed anymore because it was a horror. Like,
yeah,
he wasn't himself, and he's like barely breathing, and like I was just like I wish he was dead.
And that's
like,
a bad thing happening to a good person, right? Because of the fall, and we're in a fallen world.
Kinda, but I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah,
and so anyway, all this to say, I kept telling them, like, we should be celebrating. And the whole time leading up to his funeral, I was like, this is awesome. Like, he finally went, like, good for him. He's with Jesus. And then at his funeral, actually, it wasn't until, like, we went to his funeral. I wasn't sad. We had lunch afterwards, whatever. And then we went back to his grave, and it was just
Kyle's just cracking jokes.
it was just like the close family. And that is when it, like, I broke down because, like Jonah was saying, like, I was sad, like, now I miss him. And that is when I was like, I'm mourning for what I'm going to miss out on and, like, what this world is going to miss out on without him being here.
Selfish.
Yeah, because I was like, for him, like, I'm not crying for him. Like, I wish I were him. He's with Jesus.
Yeah.
But for me, like, we don't, like, he's super old. Like, we at Christmas, we'd always have to just wait forever for him to get ready in the morning. And I was like, now our Christmas is going to start on time. And I was like, but that's really sad. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't get that experience anymore. And so for everybody, I was like, and I, like, broke down and cried like a little baby then. But it was like you said, like, mourning because we are missing him, not because he is gone.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good wrap up on that topic. Should we get in some Q&A?
We should.
We should go check and take a taco.
Some water. I just want water right now.
Yeah, I have a water bottle.
Are you sure? You sure there's water in it this time?
The water you drink now will make you thirst again.
Is it living water or is it distilled water?
It's dead water.
We should make a water brand that's called Living Water. And have little Bible verses on it.
I agree.
Yeah, inside the cap.
Yeah.
Like the Nantucket Nectars things.
Ooh, that's actually not a bad idea.
It's like, we sell you living water and
No,
dead
no.
water at the same time.
I mean, we can't tell people that it's like it'll give them eternal life. We're just gonna be like, yeah, exactly. we have to, like, put a little disclaimer on the bottle, like, this will not give you eternal life.
You could make it like
But the verse on this
probiotic water.
bottle will.
Electrolyte water.
How many Q&As
And then it
do
would
we
be
have?
living.
And then
'Cause
Jesus
there's
would come into our
probiotics in
warehouse
it.
and
Or
flip our
carbonated,
tables.
then
Just like,
it's-
how dare you?
Yeah. Jesus is like, you've turned my father's house into a den of thieves.
All right, first Q&A. Amy Lewis, 7. Predestination versus free will. We've already answered this in an episode called Free Will and Q&A, so go look for that one on our thing, because we don't have time for that today. Next question. Lex Gash, something like that. Do you think being sarcastic is a sin?
I really hope it's
No.
not. Sarcasm is my entire
Yes.
Obviously, it's not a sin.
You're going to hell.
Aiden, can you look up Ephesians 4:29, and while you're doing that, I'll read Proverbs.
Oh yeah, by the way,
26.
I had my Bible app up because when Kyle brought up the thing about philosophy, there was a Bible verse that I thought of, but I wasn't fast enough to recite it. It's Colossians 2:8 if you want to read it. What Bible verse am I looking for?
Ephesians 4:29.
29.
Colossians 2:8, you said?
Yes.
I'm going to read it right now while you're reading that. Not out loud, though.
Ephesians 4:29.
Bro, that Bible has seen some things.
Let no harmful language come from your mouth. Okay, it's this one. Let no harmful language come from your mouth. Only good words that are helpful in meeting the need. Words that will benefit those who hear them.
So that's aspect of, but like sometimes you can argue.
Well,
Like,
here's
being
the wait,
sarcastic causes joy.
wait. Never read a Bible verse. You know what that means?
Quotes right there.
Yeah.
Context, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So, does that have to
Aiden reads the entire
the
Bible.
entire
Read
Ephesians?
the entire Bible. Let's get this.
Well, I'm just saying, like, does that constitute sarcasm? I mean, and if we're using this verse on its own, are we using the sarcasm?
Yeah,
as
what is
harmful
sarcasm? Let's define sarcasm first.
So we're going to do an episode on sarcasm now.
No, it's just really quick. Like, what is sarcasm in the sense that it could harm others?
I think sarcasm that's gone too far, maybe.
I mean, it can be, like, rude, too. Like, you can use it in a rude way. Like, if somebody came up to you and, like, asked an honest question, but you thought they were dumb for asking that question, so you answered sarcastically, then that's, like, belittling them.
Like, is the earth round? No, it's flat. It's actually, like,
Oh, yeah, that kind of
bowl-shaped.
thing. I know you're
Yeah. Right? So then it's like,
And
but
then they're actually like, okay.
Yeah, but they're like
And they're like,
gullible, so they believe
"Thanks."
you, and like that's just like.
Or actually, something that happened. This is actually a really good example. I was in the gym, and I asked someone how to do like a really basic exercise, and they showed me the completely wrong way to do it, and I was doing it that way for like 2 weeks because they thought I was joking. It was horrible. And someone came and was like, "Dude, you're gonna break your back." I was like, "Oh." Whoops. Seated the row.
Just seated rows.
That sarcasm, man.
Well, if you're using your back.
Exactly. That's probably what the person was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way they showed me, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, sure. It was really.
So that's sarcasm that can
really
cause potential
embarrassing.
backbreaking.
Yeah, potential harm, right? So but then it's like sarcasm between friends. So,
The tone that you say it is really important.
and what's the intent behind it?
Yeah, sometimes I'm sarcastic, but people don't know I'm kidding. So it's really not helpful because they don't know what I'm
And
being
over
sarcastic.
text, it is really.
Over text,
really
it's even worse. Yeah.
I think that's a good rule. If it would sound offensive over text, don't say it in real life.
It's like, hi. Don't say that in real life because that's offensive to me over text. Like everything can be offensive over text.
That's true.
Well,
Actually, there's
the most offensive thing to me is
That's
just
why
the letter
emojis were
K.
invented.
No, the most offensive thing to me in text is just the letter K with a period.
See,
That's like awful.
Or they
Never
just
say
like
that.
the message.
wait. This video that I'm about to reference has a lot of language in it. But have you ever seen the Key and Peele video where they're texting each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like the dude and the chick, and he's like,
No, they're just like, hey man, you want to go out tonight? And he's like, excuse me?
yeah.
I
I
know,
was
like-
about to bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get in a fight.
Yeah, he like goes to the bar and he's about to beat the snot out of
And
him.
he's over there, and he's just like, hey.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
I love that video.
Well, we can't just have Matthew watch it over there.
Well, Matthew can watch it while we.
But yeah, because it's got foul
cast.
language.
You won't hear it.
I'll read some more Bible verse. So let's just. I think sarcasm is okay if it doesn't,
Hold on, let's circle back to the
demean
question to
someone.
see if we've answered it already, because I don't want to spend extra time on this.
We did. Is sarcasm a sin?
No.
Maybe.
If it's, I mean,
Perhaps. God
Sometimes.
knows your heart.
through
Sometimes.
the context of
And
this
he will
verse,
judge
like
you
if you're using it to
accordingly.
harm people, the good
Yes.
rule of thumb, like if you wouldn't say it over text because it would be confusing, don't say it out loud.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
No, but-
quoting you.
Just don't be rude.
Rule of thumb.
This is Proverbs 5:18. No, 26:18. Like a maniac shooting flaming arrows of death is one who deceives their neighbor and says, "I was only joking."
Yeah.
So
Okay, but that really depends on like
that's like you
the
saying
level.
you're so stupid and dumb, and like actually like
It's like
them
prank
thinking you
videos.
mean it and be like, "Oh, dude, I was just joking." Like
That
a
make,
year
no,
later.
no, that makes me think of prank videos.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like I saw like this prank video that just like went way too far. There's this guy and he takes a mock dummy of like an actual like person and he puts like a head on it, like a watermelon or something. And I don't know what it was. And it was like 2 a.m. this morning and he's on like the top of a building and some random dude walks by on the street and he just drops the guy and his head just explodes and the guy is like and he just like I don't know. It's
I
just
saw
a prank,
one-
I
bro.
was
It's
just
like-
joking. It's cool.
Okay, I saw
it's
one.
like traumatization.
Yeah, no, I saw one where someone put his like clothes that he usually wears on a mannequin, and like hung the mannequin from a noose on the ceiling, and then like faced it away. And so when his like ex-girlfriend walked in, she's like, because she thought like that he was like sad that she was like with a new dude.
Or there's this other one. Where
and it was like, oh, it was just a prank.
this guy-
and she's like crying.
this
and
guy.
it's like,
This guy kidnaps his best friend, and he. This guy kidnaps his best friend, and he like sits him next to him like on a chair, and he puts a bag over his head, and he pretends like there's this guy that's gonna like shoot him. He's like, "Tell me where it is. Tell me where it is." And the guy genuinely has no idea what he's talking about, and he just starts breaking down and crying, and then he just uses a fake gunshot. And he's like, "They killed him! They killed him!" I was just like rocking back and forth on a chair. It's like, bro, like that's where it goes too far. But like,
So
or if
don't
you're, like,
don't
actually
be a
shooting someone
maniac.
in the leg and be like, oh,
Don't
what's
be
the
a
point?
Shooting flaming arrows.
Yeah, don't be a maniac with flaming arrows.
or
Yeah.
like it's that, and then like I put a whoopee cushion under Aiden's chair or something like that.
Here's the only verse I could find that supports sarcasm. Maybe a time to break down and a time to build up. Ecclesiastes 3:3.
Yeah, Ecclesiastes does kind of have a sarcastic tone to it sometimes, but
I mean, that verse is good because it's like there's a moment to be sarcastic. I think you said that already. There's like a time and a place.
yeah, I think among friends, sometimes it's okay.
As long as you know how to get like serious and how to like switch back and forth, and like once the
And know the
conversation
other person's
actually
being serious or
turns
joking.
into something serious, as long as you're not like joking about like the wrong kind of stuff, I think it's fine.
Yeah, it can still be offensive though. Like, like if I was sarcastic to Andrea in some moments, even though she knows I'm being sarcastic, it could still hurt her.
Like know the other person.
I mean, like, God knows your heart, so just
God knows your sarcastic little heart.
I made that joke earlier and Luke stole it, and no one laughed when I said it. Heck.
Let's answer one more question. Platypus wallaby.
Wallaby.
Sorry.
Platypus wallaby.
How to realistically
hybrid
find
animal.
more Christian friends other than already at church? If they're not at church, they're not Christians, so you're not going to find anyone else.
Okay, no, not true.
That was fast.
Be outspoken, I would say, with
be a
everybody
Christian.
you see, because it's actually amazing how many Christians you can find just in normal everyday life. But you can also come across those people and never know it if you never speak about it. That's why I like to wear lots of Christian apparel, because then it just happens. I was at the park. Maybe it was last week.
I think like that I shirt is
Yeah.
like it kind of looks like a Hexy shirt or something, like it's a different brand.
That's actually what I was wearing.
So it's like the modern day fish of Gala.
Yes.
Also, this reminds me that we are selling merch. Go check it. Check it out.
Honestly, I was. This is actually not a good. No, you know what? I'm already into it. I was hanging out with my son at the park, and this girl walks up to me because she has a child at the park as well. This woman.
This woman.
Yeah, I know. I feel like a child sometimes, but she was like, "Oh, hey, that's a really cool hat. What brand is it?" And I actually didn't know which hat I was wearing because I had it on backwards. So I like took it off and I was like, "Oh, it's He Is Greater Than I. It's a Christian clothing company." And she's like, "Oh," and I was like, "Cool." But then, so then I like kind of was like, "Great." Like, this girl's totally like, get your child away from my child. So then I went and like talked to her, and like we just had like a normal conversation, but
The political and economic state of the world.
yeah.
Jaden Smith. Can we please talk about the socioeconomic state of the world?
I love that video.
But anyway, just getting out and like being outspoken about the truth of who you are, you'll find more Christians that way. And obviously I didn't, because there's 17 Christians in this entire valley. But everywhere else in the world, you should be able to find some other Christians.
Yeah, I mean, I had one of those experiences, like a good experience, actually, at Hickory House one time. This waitress, I guess she saw my necklace, because then she like came up to us, and she was, I guess she was like trying to be outspoken, because she was talking about God a lot, and then eventually we told her like, hey, like, we're Christians. Is there something you want to like talk about? And then like, and then she like testified to us, and she told her that like life was like difficult, and
I'm so glad
she was having like monetary problems, and
She's like, why do bad things happen to good people?
well,
Go listen to my podcast, firestartersforjesus.com,
Hey,
where we answer all your questions.
you already know I plugged the podcast in the conversation. But, like,
First plug Jesus, then plug the podcast, then only plug yourself.
And then plug the merch before yourself.
Yeah. Merch comes first. Third.
Oh, with that being said, go
yeah.
buy some merch. Like, subscribe. Leave a
Wait.
comment for next
Wait.
episode. Kyle's got something.
We just have to shout out to Native Noah. I
Oh.
just really,
Is that on your heart today?
yeah. I was so confused. I was like, Native Noah ask us a question. I was like, maybe that's all. Like he didn't type anything in the subject body. I was so confused. Anyway, Native Noah, I would like to know, what is your favorite music, since you're a music guy?
Yeah,
Like
Native
favorite
Noah has
genre?
a musical podcast where he interviews
I
underground
wanted to
artists that
know.
aren't cool
I wanted
yet,
to
that
know
will be
what
cool.
his personal favorite track from the Moon Knights EP is. Or DP, I don't remember.
It was
which
EP.
one it was. EP.
Well, Noah, let us know. Leave us a comment down below. That's the only place where we'll respond because we need more comments to get YouTube to push our videos. Please like and live like Jesus and tell people why bad things happen.
Comment or you're not going to heaven.
False. False doctrine.
That was sarcasm.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of
I
mine.
have a friend in Jesus.
Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of